So I want to say thank you to Alberto Ariosto and Victor for being interested in my story and my message. I never thought it was that important what we were doing, but people seem to be interested. So after hearing all these great speakers, I'm going to give it my best shot. July 1st, 2014, everything changed in my life, the whole trajectory of what I was doing and the way I thought. And I turned on the news, and my 5-year-old was sitting on my lap, and this was going on. This was screaming out of the TV. 3 busloads of women and children, refugees from Central America, were on their way to a Border Patrol processing center in Murrieta, California. And the police of Murrieta, for whatever reason, stopped the buses on the freeway and then let white supremacist protesters out on the road. What was screaming out of the TV at me was one of the most vilest demonstrations of hate that I've ever seen. They were spitting on the bus, full of women and children. They were fleeing terror. They were banging on the bus. They were screaming at them, "Make me tacos. Go back to Mexico." They were from Central America. They weren't from Mexico. But for them, they were brown, and they spoke Spanish, so they're Mexican. And at some point, my son looked up at me, and he said, "Amor." And that's what he calls me. I don't know why, but both my sons think that's my name. They've never called me dad. It's just Amor, which is beautiful. So this innocent boy right there looked up at me and he said, "Amor, why are they mad at the buses?" Because that's what his mind was digesting. And when he said that, I just immediately became so angry, so incensed. Because now in 2014, I had to figure out a way to explain to his innocent mind that they're not mad at the buses. They're mad at the brown people inside of the buses for no other reason than that they're brown. And they're not from America, which we know is everywhere. But for them, it's just the United States. So for the next few days, I watched the protest unfold in Murrieta. They got bigger. They got more uglier. The two sides were polarized. And for them, the issue, open borders, not open borders. Deport, don't deport. Immigration is a right, no immigration. But for me, 100 miles away, it was different. My issue was totally different. My issue was the complete and total lack of humanity. And I just couldn't wrap my arms around it, and I couldn't figure out how to teach my son. And on July 4th, Independence Day for the United States, I decided I had to do something. So I created a page called Boycott Murrieta on Facebook. And it was my first real endeavor at real activism. And I advocated for a complete and total boycott of all the businesses in Murrieta, which made some people angry. But what I wanted to get from them was, your mayor incited a hateful riot for no other reason that he just doesn't like those people. So we want him to resign. We want him to apologize. Wanted the police department to be investigated by the Justice Department. So I put that up there. I made my statements, and I put it on a few of the news sites on Facebook that I thought might be interested, and I went to bed. I was happy. I slept good that night finally after 3 days of agonizing because I was an activist now. And I woke up in the morning, and there was over 1,000 likes on the page, and I said, By the end of the day, there was over 2,500 likes, and I had messages. What are we going to do? What's the action? Where do we protest? And I was like, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. By the next day, we had over 3,500 likes. I had messages from news media from all over wanting to talk to me, and I did it anonymously because I know that the white supremacists are not always the nicest people. So by the end of the second week, we were interacting with over 200,000 people in some way, shape, or form. There was something on my page was touching them. Either they posted, they read something, someone shared something, they saw a picture, they liked something. 200,000 people. I was getting messages now, what can we do? We want to help. We're in upstate New York. We're in Ohio. We're in Florida. So I started finding charities that were near them that were helping the refugees, and we started directing them to them. I got a couple friends to help me administer the page because it was out of control between the white supremacists, between everybody that wanted to help, between the news. And we just kept going. At a certain point, there's a group in San Diego called Border Angels, Ángeles de Frontera. And they put out a post that said, all the shelters are full. and we need host families. There's people sleeping on the floors of detention centers and on the floors of shelters. If you can host a family, please call us. And I thought, wow, is there no better way to teach my 3 sons what to do in the face of what they saw on TV? So I went home and I told my wife, and I said, hey, I think this is a great time. It's a great chance for us to show our 3 boys the counteraction to what they saw. And she said, she's from Guerrero, and she said, pues sí, está bien, porque she said, porque donde come uno, come dos. And that was it. It was that simple. There was no real hard thought process. It was that simple. I called Border Angels. I said, hey, we got 2 rooms. We can take a family of up to 6 people. They vetted us out. A few days later, we got a phone call. There was a particularly traumatized family, a mother from Guatemala and her 4 children. And they told me the story. And I'm going to share a little bit of the story with you, because one of the things that we don't understand when we see, like right now in Tijuana, you got 15,000 people from Haiti out here on the streets. Why are they here? That's always the question. Why don't they stay where they're at? Why do they come? I'll tell you a story. The 23-year-old daughter of this family never had regular sex. She'd only been raped. She was raped in Guatemala. She was raped in the 2-month journey of coming across Mexico. And she was raped her first night in a shelter in San Diego. She never, ever had normal, regular sex. The father was immediately deported back to Guatemala. The mother and the 2 boys that were under 18 were put in a shelter in San Diego. They had been subjected to their father, who was the ex-husband, who was a gang leader in their village. And he was trying to force them to work for the gang. He made them take drugs. He had gang members beat them. They had to stop going to school because they couldn't go back and forth to school without getting beat up. This is the reason these people are fleeing wherever they're coming from. They can't stay or they'll die. They don't want to be here. They'd rather be in their home. So I went to pick these people up, and I could see in their eyes just incredible sadness, resignation, fear, hollowness, empty. And I tried to make small talk with them while I was driving them to the house, and they were staring, this big giant gringo. And they didn't know what they expected, and I'm sure that the mother and the daughter expected at some point I would do what every other male had done along the journey. So when we got to the house, I introduced them to my wife, and I decided I was going to let my wife deal with them more than me to get them comfortable over the next few days. And I could see the same fear in her eyes, the same sadness. My 2 little boys, my 5-year-old and my 4-year-old at the time, they were, wow, who are these people that are going in our room? So we had 2 rooms available to them. They were scared. They didn't want to be separated, so they all piled into one room. And my wife went to our bedroom. I walked over to the bedroom, and she was sitting on the edge of the bed, and she said, what do we do? What are we supposed to do for these guys? What do they eat? And I said, I don't know. I have no idea what they eat. I think all we have to do is just kind of provide a safe space for them. And my wife said, okay, pues, ahí vamos. And she walked out. She's the one that's more nivelado. I'm all over the place. And she walked out to the living room, and I sat there on the edge of the bed, and I just kind of looked out the universe, and I thought, everything changes today. Our life has changed, our family, their life has changed. Everything changes, and I just hope, we do the right thing. I immediately got on the computer, because one of the things that really affected me was how dehumanized they were by these people. And I wanted to blog about them, and I did it anonymously because we were getting really restless and relentless white supremacists after us. They were trying to ID me, figure out who I was. So day 1 with our Guatemalan family, day 2, and I talked about the experiences, things that we take for granted. Their first trip in an elevator. I had no idea that they'd never been in an elevator before, and they were scared. And I had no idea, and we started having to pay attention to those things. We took them to a Chinese buffet, and they were afraid to go get seconds, to go get more food. And my 4-year-old grabbed the 14-year-old by the hand, and he said, don't worry, Miguel. The police aren't going to get you in trouble for getting more food. You can eat as much as you want. And you know what else? You can eat as much ice cream as you want. Come on. And he led him by the hand, and he took him over to get more food. Those things that we take for granted. I was concerned bringing a family in. We didn't know what was going to happen. Were they crazy? Were they going to kill us? But within a few days, everybody was interacting like they'd always been there. This little community we created in our house that went from 5 people to 10 people overnight. I went from feeding 1 teenage son to feeding 4 teenage boys. We created this little community. And I sat down with them one night, and we got on Google Earth, and we looked at their village. And they were incredibly amazed that we could see their village that way from here. And we went building by building, park by park, and they talked with so much emotion about it. And then the mother started crying. And I asked her, I said, so what happened? What's wrong? And she said, I can never go back. And I said, why? She said, if we go back, we'll be killed. They'll kill us. I can never go back. I should have been able to die a natural death with my family and my friends. And that's when it occurred to me that they're not here to take advantage of us, which a lot of people say and think. They're not here because they want to be. They had to flee because they had to. So as I went along blogging every day, telling these stories online, July 28th was another momentous day. I woke up and our life changed again. Somehow they ID'd me. I got to my restaurant early in the morning. There was a news crew from Univision out there. That's weird. Maybe they're doing the weather. I don't know. And it said, can we talk to you? And I said, about what? Said, about what's going on Facebook. I said, what's going on Facebook? And they said, you don't know? And I said, I have no idea what's going on. And they started to tell me. I said, hang on, let me go inside and do what I got to do, and then I'll talk to you after I get the restaurant ready. Opened the door, went in. I had maybe 60 or 70 messages on my phone, which is rare. So I hit it. You're a race traitor. You're a traitor to our country. We're going to kill you. We're going to kill your family. We're coming down there today. Message after message after message. Things that are too vile to tell you right here. The phone was ringing. And so now I was like, okay, what happened? What did I do? What did I get myself into? What did I get my family into? I did the interview with Univision, got rid of them, called the police. While I waited for the police to come down, people started showing up at my restaurant, videotaping, taking pictures at the end of the parking lot. White people in Barrio Logan, early in the morning. Just saying. So as the day progressed, I called my wife and I called my son. They'd put pictures of my kids and my wife all over their hate sites. They put a meme up that showed my 2 little ones, and it said, I wonder if an Amber Alert on his sons would get his attention. So I called my wife. She was angry with me. What'd you get us into? And I said, listen, anything weird, just call the police. Don't even think twice about it. Pay attention. Close up your Facebook, lock it up, because I thought we had them locked up, but that's where they got all the pictures. I called my older son, told him the same thing. He was angry at me. And so now I'm in this whirlwind of, what do I do? So I opened the restaurant. I'm watching everybody. Anybody that came in that I didn't know that was white was immediately suspect to me, which is profiling, but it was what it was. It was the life I had that day. Police came over, and the first thing the police said to me was, why don't you just stop causing trouble on Facebook? And I was like, I didn't call you here to tell me what I should and shouldn't do. I called you here to protect me from people that are not allowing me to do what I'm allowed to do. And that day progressed. Something else started happening. People that I didn't know were coming from Arizona, Los Angeles, San Bernardino, other parts of San Diego, giving me money, hugging me, shaking my hand. And I was like, wow, what's going on here? People that were touched by what we did, didn't know us, they didn't know us at all. They were moved by what we did. People came and sat in front of our restaurant so we could work peacefully. So me and my employees made sure that no one did anything. If anybody came that tried to cause trouble, they ran them out of there. People that didn't know us. We got towards the end of the day, and I was thinking, maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I should give the family back. Maybe I got to walk away. I put my family in danger. And I called my wife and my son again, and I told them, hey, what do you want me to do? You guys, and they both said the same thing. They both said that we trust you. And then a truck pulled in, an old beat-up truck. A small guy got out, maybe 55 years old. He was a little guy, and he was dark-skinned, and another guy got out, maybe 20, 30, I don't know, and they walked towards me. They were kind of tentative, and the older guy said, "Eres el señor de las noticias?" And I said, "I think so." And he said, "Hablas español?" I said, "Yeah." And then he said to me in Spanish, he hugged me, and he started crying. And he said, "Tú y tu familia están en peligro. Nada más porque tú quisiste ayudar a mi gente." And he said, "Yo quiero que tú sabes que desde hoy en adelante tú eres guate, tú eres de nosotros y te vamos a cuidar." And I said, "I can't walk away from this. There's no way I can walk away from this now." And the younger guy hugged me, and they went away. And they're from a very macho, patriarchal society. For them to do that, make that effort, was incredible to me. So we marched on, we marched forward. Every single day, people came to the restaurant. And the next thing I knew, I was doing interviews, and within a week, I probably did 200 interviews. I was on MSNBC. Don Francisco called. They flew me out to Miami, and I was on Sábado Gigante. One thing I told my wife when we first were dating, I said, "Un día yo voy a estar en este programa cantando con Don Francisco." Check. So they were doing an immigration show. I was on with Lupillo Rivera. And all of a sudden, what we were doing that I didn't think was anything extraordinary, that I just thought I wanted to show something to my three boys, my message was going to millions of people. So the takeaway: you can behave globally and affect change globally by acting locally, by doing little things. You build community and you build humanity by doing it, not by saying it. It doesn't happen with spoken word. It happens with action. When you teach community by doing community, this happens. That's the 5-year-old on his 6th birthday. We never cut his hair since he was born, for no real reason, just because we didn't. But he had beautiful long curly hair. And on his 6th birthday, we picked him up from school. And he said, "Amor, I want to cut my hair for my birthday." I said, "Really? Why?" He said, "I want to give it to the sick kids." And I said, "What sick kids?" And he said, "We learned that there's kids like me that have cancer. And the medicine they have to take to get better, they lose their hair. And we also learned that there's a company that'll make hair for them if we send them our hair. I want to do that." When you teach community and you teach humanity by action, this is what's going to happen. That's how you do it. When you build community by action, this happens. That's 3 months after our 2 families came together. They stayed with us for 4 months. It was no longer that Guatemalan family in our house. They were part of our family. We were part of their family. They're brothers. That's what they are. They're no longer friends, playmates. They're brothers. You build community, you build humanity, and you touch people by action, not by spoken word. So, 2 questions for you. 1, what's your legacy going to be? That's my legacy. My 19-year-old son, who's an incredibly compassionate, empathetic young man, those 2 boys, I pledge to you that I'm going to deliver 2 more young men that know how to act and behave in the face of great evil, acts of hate. That's what I'm going to deliver to you. That's my legacy. We all have a comfort zone, a line that we can go to where we're still okay. Imagine what we can accomplish as every single one of you today walked out and just walked to your line, felt comfortable, built a little bit of community. And now imagine if you took 1 step past that line. Thank you.